It's Mach.
Hey, Breanna, what's happening?
Hello.
Welcome to Spark.N.Stride.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so excited to be on today. Just everything you're doing, the brand, I just had to, reach out and get on.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah. No, listen, thank you for reaching out. I've been, following your stuff as well. And I'm really impressed by what you're doing. Like your videos seem fun, like your merch, just the whole thing, your whole concept. I'm really digging it. I'm hoping that we could kind of get into it, kind of figure out how you got started, what inspired you, what was your spark,
Yeah.
So are you originally from New Jersey?
I am, yes. I so most of my time, I grew up in New Jersey. My family were from the Caribbean, so I spent some time in St. Vincent. And then I came up here. I grew up in Central Jersey, and then I went to school in Delaware. So I was in Delaware for some time, and then I came back to Jersey. But yeah, Jersey has been home for now.
Okay. So what part of New Jersey did you grow up in?
Central Jersey.
Central Jersey, okay.
For those that think there is a Central Jersey, I think it's only people from Central Jersey that say Central Jersey. But I was in Highland Park for some time, and then North Brunswick is where I spent most of my time in Jersey.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yes.
Like it, yeah. How long have you had your website?
I've had my website, so I took my brand to social media recently.
Okay.
So the Instagram that I created, the website that I created, I've only had it for about 4 years now.
Okay.
Business-wise and everything, this has been something that I've been doing for years and years, though. That didn't start recently. That started a while ago.
Okay.
And then brought it to social media recently when I decided to just branch out more and try to build a community and those things. So yeah, hopped onto social media.
It definitely looks like you're on your way, though. I mean, for real, from what I'm seeing, what's the gym that you work out of? I mean, I don't know if we should say that. Maybe that's too much information, but
that's okay. It's definitely a one-of-a-kind gym, so
okay.
There's no problem at all. I don't think anyone's missing it. So I'm temporarily in Pennsylvania, so I'm currently working out of Fusion Gyms.
Okay.
The owner is amazing. He's doing great things. What he wanted to do was create this gym aspect, this outdoor-indoor gym aspect that they have on the West Coast, so Texas, California, bring it to the East Coast. So it is the only type of gym really that you're going to see like that on the East Coast.
I want to make a visit to you guys. I want to be in one of your videos. I want to be in your workout videos.
You have to. You have to. I've been doing a lot of collabs recently, and I love it. I love it. Growing together with other people. So yeah I would. That would be dope.
No, that's what's up. What's on your mind? What have you been I don't know. What have you been thinking about lately?
Yeah. So I've actually been thinking about a lot of things.
Okay.
A lot of things. So when it comes to business wise, just I think for a while I was in a mode of go. And I felt like I've built my business to a certain point, and now typical entrepreneur mindset, right? We are always thinking of different things different ways to do more and grow and be more and all of those things. So thinking of different ways to build my business in different ways. I think right now, this current moment, my current growth period is gearing more towards community and building community and doing collabs and growing in that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also somebody that's always on the go, and I'm giving to others more than I'm giving to myself. So another thing that I said to myself that I'm going to do this year is to tap more into my hobbies and things that I like to do and all of that. I don't want to, when I have free time, I do things that have to do with work besides traveling, but that's also on the go.
Yeah.
So which traveling is one of my passions for sure. But tap more into creating a little bit more balance and tapping more into me and those different areas and things that make me and what I like to do and all of that.
No, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
What you said traveling, like where's somewhere you wanna what's on the horizon?
So every year I go somewhere big, I feel like. So my mom and I, she's my favorite travel partner. So we'll go one big trip every year, and then I'll do little trips throughout. I have friends all over the place also, so I'll go visit them, which is nice. I get, makes it easy to go to these different places. But I'll be going to Tanzania in the fall.
Tanzania,
yeah, in Africa. That'll be my first time in Africa.
Yeah.
So I'm like checking that continent off the list.
Yeah.
You also, I know you've been everywhere. I'm like, who am I talking to right now? Actually, have you been to every continent?
I've never been to Antarctica.
Okay.
Or like, right, like, yeah, Antarctica is the continent. Yeah, I've never been there. I think I've been on everything else though.
Australia,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to Australia, and that was one of my first TDYs as a young guy in the Air Force. TDY stands for Temporary Duty Assignment. For those that are listening that are not familiar with the acronym, it's what the Air Force would a business trip, or it's related, temporary, right? So you can be 2 weeks, 6 months or so, right? It's considered a TDY. But yeah, went out to Australia. It was we were working with like customs, and we were helping them move some medical equipment, some like industrial sized refrigerators and so forth out of a base that was somewhere in Australia, but we were like closer to like the airport. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty cool. That was, I was there for like 2.5 weeks. And it's funny because like when we got there, it was a team of I think it was like 10 of us that went down there. So we get down there, and they're like, "What? Like, why did they send you guys? Like, why are you guys here? Like, we're pretty much done. We pretty much did everything, right? Like, so I guess there was some confusion, and like there was some communication, right? Like breakdown. So the guy that was in charge, he's like, "Well, we're not going back. We're not going back to the States. We're gonna stay here until you got to figure out. We're not leaving. Like we're in a 5-star hotel, right on the beach. We're drinking beers and stuff. We're like, we're not going back. So like, either figure out something for us to help you guys out with, or if you need us, we're at the hotel. So they gave us like some busy work to do. It was cool. It was a lot of networking and that kind of thing. But but Africa, there's something very like spiritual. There's something very like the vibes, right? The vibes, the history and that kind. It's a beautiful place. I think I've never been to Tanzania. I actually I did a humanitarian to Africa in 2008.
What part was that?
Yeah, I went to Mali.
Oh,
so,
nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to bore you with this, but
no, not boring at all. This is all the things that I love.
Yeah. I'm in Italy at the time. So I was living in Italy. So the base in Italy is called Aviano Air Force Base in Italy. Okay. And so we did a humanitarian to Mali, Africa. So the name of the mission was MedFlag. Okay. So it was called MedFlag. And they would do one like every year. So this one was MedFlag 08. I want to say it was August timeframe or late July of 08. And it was a joint effort with like all the other services. Mm-hmm. So it was like Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy. And the Air Force was in charge of the medical care. The Marines were in charge of security. The Navy was in charge of dentistry, right? Okay. And the Army, they were vaccinating cattle. Okay. Super humbling experience. Yeah. Like, so we get down there, and so we get down to Mali. So in Mali, they speak so many different languages. They speak Bamako. Mm-hmm. They speak, like they speak English. They speak Spanish, French. It's a really mixture of all these different languages, right? So, which is really, really cool, really, really interesting. So they had us staying at like one of the resorts in Mali. Mm-hmm. huge hotel. And I mean, like, we're all there, like the entire joint effort is staying in this like 5-star hotel. The gendarme is their version of their military, like, police.
Okay.
And there were roughly 400 of them on the compound at any given time, protecting the entire, like, I guess, like, our protection or whatever.
You all, yeah.
It was kind of crazy. Like,
Yeah.
they're walking around with like AK-47s and stuff like that. But the cool thing, probably one of the coolest things that I've ever done was that mission. And I've done quite a few cool things in my career, in my military career. But going to Africa and that experience, that was really, really something else. That was like such a humbling experience.
Yeah.
We would so what we would do is, in the mornings we would get in. So we had 2 like huge buses, right? Like the charter style type of bus. So we had 2 of those. In front of each of the buses, we had like it wasn't a Range Rover, it was like the Toyota Land Cruiser. So it was like 3 Land Cruisers with like high officials from the Mali military in there. Yeah. And then in front of them was like 2 pickup trucks with the gendarme hanging out of it with AK-47s, like, and then 2 motorcycles. Yeah. And the same exact thing in the back. And we would just maneuver through Mali in this convoy. Like, you know, the people were just moving out of the way, and we're kind of like making our way through. So we would go to a village and provide healthcare to the entire village. And there were folks would walk to this specific village that we were at from like as far as like 15 to 30 miles away, walking. Wow. To get care, right? To get care. So they could only be seen for one thing it was like one service. So some people were having their teeth removed. Some people were there for like malaria vaccinations. The army was vaccinating all of the cattle. And then we would go back to the hotel. And then the next day was like a kind of like not a recovery day, but we would punch in all of the data. So we had administrative people punching in data on like how many patients were seen, what were they seen for. Then you had the medical logistics folks. That was part of what I was there doing. And we were like resupplying all of the medications and so forth that we had used. And then the very next day we would go out to another village and do the same thing all over again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I'm actually while I'm in Tanzania, we're going to visit 2 different orphanages. And another day we're doing something else, but doing some humanitarian work there as well. But yeah, I would have loved to experience something like that. You're speaking and I'm like picturing stuff that I see in the movies.
Yeah, it was interesting because I never thought I would get a chance to do something like that. You know what I mean? And like reflecting back on it now, I'm just like, wow, like how cool was that experience? You know, it gives you perspective. It really does. You know, you're in a third world country where folks have very, very little, but are extremely happy. It's really interesting, right? So whenever like I'm going through like hard times or struggling with something, or I just think to myself like, man, it's not that bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not that bad. It's just sometimes we get so consumed with what's in front of us, right in front of us, that we tend to lose sight of what is actually important. Yeah. And this is what this is about. This is what Spark.N.Stride is about. It's about, staying sparked, staying motivated, continuously thinking outside of the box, connecting with people, networking with people, collaborating with people, and getting these ideas and getting these conversations and putting them in motion. I think a lot of times we can get in our own way in a sense. You could have the best ideas, or you could be the biggest dreamer, right? And I love people who can envision and dream.
Yeah.
Right? Like you should never stop dreaming, and you should dream as big as you can dream, and you should go for as far and as high as you want to go. And with Spark.N.Stride, what I envisioned was, the folks that are out there that have ideas, that have motivation, that want to like push themselves forward, if your immediate circle or the folks that are within reach do not see your vision, are not supportive of your vision, or want to downplay your vision, reach out to Spark.N.Stride. Reach out to Spark.N.Stride. Let's coordinate. Let's get together. Let's network. Yeah. Because whatever your vision is, I see your vision. I see your vision. And if I could assist or help or make connections in any kind of way, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and take that stride. Especially when I started my business, right? It was important to surround myself with those type of people. Entrepreneurs, we're kind of crazy a little bit. You have to be a little kind of crazy to do some of these things, right? To think outside of the box and to do what we do. When you have a dream and you have a vision, and especially to put that into action, you definitely have to not only be a certain type of person, but surround yourself with those type of people that's going to really push you. I had people, say to me like, oh, that's like, yes, you seem like that type of person, but how are you going to do it? And that sounds crazy. And, where are you going to find the resources to do that? What about the time? And how are you going to do this? And how are you going to do that? And I was always like, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to make it happen. I was never that type of person to be a do nothing type of person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If I tell you, if I'm like, Mach, tomorrow I'm going to find a purple unicorn and take it to ShopRite.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody, I'm like, better believe tomorrow you'll walk outside and see me with the purple unicorn going to ShopRite. Or, I'm always trying to inspire others also if they have a dream, if they have a vision, especially like what you're doing, to go after it. And when they do have those limited beliefs and things like that, and they're like, oh, it can't because of this. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? And why not try?
Yeah.
Never, it never hurts to try. Either it'll be the best thing ever or do nothing at all. And if it doesn't, then that's okay. It's not a loss. At least you don't.
I tell a lot of my like folks that are like, because people were coming to me and they're like, hey man, like I had no clue you were doing that. How did you come up with that idea? The concept, this, and tons of questions. So like, I'll either get like one or two like calls. The one call is like, hey man, I love what you're doing. I've your YouTube clips, this, like that's amazing. Or then the next call I'll get is like side comments and, oh, who do you think you are, Joe Rogan? Like that's I think to me that is such a compliment.
I was gonna say he's a pretty successful guy, so I don't know.
Yeah, like and
amazing.
And in my mind, me and Joe Rogan are best friends.
Yeah.
Like in my mind, me and him are best friends. Me and Nori from Drink Champs, we're best friends. Yeah. I'm best friends with Mike Tyson from Hot Boxing. Like in my mind, like if I ever get a chance to meet these guys, like I have a feeling like I can fit right in. You know what I mean?
100%.
So like the underhanded comments and stuff like that, I really don't pay no mind to that kind of stuff. I've always been a self-starter. I've been on my own since I was 14 years old. I left the house very early. I've always worked. I was homeless at one point. I've slept on trains. I've been in and out of shelters as a youth. So having the opportunity to establish my own platform is it's almost like a no-brainer for me. You know what I mean? So and ultimately, I'm having fun. I'm having so much fun. I'm talking to so many different people. I have so many different people that have already been on that I'll be releasing content throughout the month and shorts and reels and that kind of thing. And then ultimately, I think what really like gets me, like my spark, my spark to keep striding and going forward is that when I see the stuff that I'm editing, when I see the stuff that I'm putting together, because here's the thing, Breanna, like I'm doing this by myself.
Yeah.
I don't have a team of people. Everything you see in here, like I've done this all by myself. These were like my ideas, my creative, inspiration on what I envisioned, and we're back.
We are back.
Some minor difficulties or technical difficulties. It's thundering outside, so we literally just went dark. we went legit no electricity for a few minutes. We were like, what just happened here? What were we talking about? I don't even.
So we were just talking about sparking and striding. I think just when you have an idea, going for it.
Yeah, for sure. We were talking about how, like, dream big, right?
Yes, yeah.
Dream big. And listen, folks are gonna have, I think a lot of times, when you were explaining like your part of it, I was thinking of a Jay-Z verse.
Okay.
And it's I forget what song it is, but it's he's basically saying like, I told my uncle I was gonna sell 1 million records. My uncle told me how. And then he's like, I think the next line is like, I sold 1 million records like 1 million times.
I love that so much.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that as part of my. I have different like quotes and lyrics, videos, different things that I love because I feel like I definitely go by that. That's something that I love for sure. There's a video that Diddy had too. I know not everybody's too fond of him, but I
love Brother Love.
Right?
Yeah, come on now.
I like it. I love his work. One thing I love about him is his work ethic. Nobody can take that away from him. And there was one video, I forgot what it was, that he won or something like that, and they had called him and they were like, "Oh, you got this," and he was like, "Of course I did." And then he started saying, he's like, "What can't I do, or what can't they do, or tell me what can't I do? I'm gonna do it." And I always have that video, and I always look back at it every now and then, and I'm like, yeah,
People could say what they want about, Diddy, Mr. Combs, Puff Daddy, Brother Love,
yeah,
love him or hate him. That man is a cultural icon.
yeah.
Like, so say what you want, like, and not everyone's going to like everything you're doing, but you cannot deny what he has done for the culture. Right. There's just that you cannot deny that. I love the photos or the videos of Diddy, taking calls in his office with his shirt off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just like being unapologetically himself. Right.
Yeah.
I think I love that.
Yeah.
It cracks me up. You know what I mean? He was definitely an inspiration for me growing up. You know what I mean? Because I grew up in that era, like the late 80s, early 90s, kind of like when Bad Boy was like taking off. And it definitely influenced a lot in me, as a young guy, especially like growing up in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
Biggie was a big inspiration for all of us, right? Because, like, who would think that we would take it this far, and it's not just hip hop. I think it's in general, just yourself as a person. Who would have thought that you could take it this far? Like, I've been just doing a lot of thinking lately and just thinking about all these different things that I've been through and I've gone through and all these different opportunities that I've made for myself and all these different times where it was not supposed to, it could have gone bad and maybe it was supposed to go bad, but it didn't. And somehow I was able to like navigate, the booby traps and that kind of thing. But like, even like right here, right? It was all a dream, like that's my thing. You know what I mean? Like I could I could talk about this as much as you want,
Yeah, no, definitely. And thinking about that, I was just about to share on my end. So asking you though, right, when it comes to Spark, what would you say is something that you are passionate about, or things that spark this in you, and bringing it back to even years ago, you talking about how Biggie was and things like that was an inspiration for you back then too. So thinking about things that were an inspiration for you back then, how do you see that manifesting now in what you're doing, and creating this brand and this business and all of that?
Brianna, that's a really good question. I'll probably go off on a rant or a tangent in a few seconds. You can just put your hand up and pause me. But yeah, no. So here's the thing, right? Like I grew up extremely I come from humble beginnings, right? Like really, really just no pen, not a penny, to scrub together kind of a thing, right? So, but in terms of like a spark or an inspiration, I think what I really keyed in on were the folks that were able to do positive things to push themselves forward in hard times, and those folks that were doing positive things were striding forward, and they weren't hurting anyone. Meaning that what I'm getting at is like they weren't like doing anything illegal. They weren't into, because I think in everyone's family we all have the I think we all have the person who's addicted to some kind of like substance or maybe dealing with mental illness. I think we all have the gay cousin or the gay uncle. I don't know, I think families have these dynamics, you know what I mean? Or if you don't have them in your family, someone who has them in their family, right? But keying in on the people that were doing positive things in the community, positive things within themselves, and not taking away from anyone else. I think that I really keyed in on that, because when you don't have it much or you don't have anything, growing up, it's very easy to look at the guys that are selling drugs, the guys that are doing illegal things, because these are the guys that are dressing well. These are the guys who have cars. These are the guys who have money. These are the guys who appear, right? The appearance is that like they're on top of the world, and they're really doing it because you don't have anything. But I think, as a young guy having the and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sound like I was an angel and I didn't like get involved in things, because I did get involved in things, and I'm not, a saint by any means, but I knew better though, and I knew that maybe what I was involved in was not, it was you were toying around with I never put both feet in.
Yes.
I'd put my tippy toe in, knowing that wasn't the route that I should be going down, right? So, but to answer your question in terms of a spark and in terms of stay like motivated, I think it's been the folks that have been around me, I've surrounded myself with, or just watching from a distance and seeing positivity and seeing progress that's self-contained within themselves and not abusive to anyone else.
Yeah. And like you said too, right? Taking the route that you did versus taking the route of somebody that may be on the streets or something like that, right? That route is more so your gain is for yourself. You're not really doing any good for the community or for people, and versus the route that you took, that I took. Not only are we growing and being better and doing all these things that are going to benefit us, but it's also not only what we can do for us, but what we can do for the community too, and to give back, because Spark.N.Stride is a service as well, as much as it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's service based. You're giving back in all that you do and all that the brand is. And for me too, that's one thing I wanted to make sure that I continue to do and to keep in mind. Yes, it is service based, but healthcare can easily become business focused, which is what made me want to venture off on my own, because of the things that I saw firsthand, and the way that healthcare can become a business and just all about money and not about health.
Right.
So just making sure that, yes, as much as it is a business, my business is a business, to continue to keep the focus on what my original mission was to be able to motivate and educate and inspire individuals to be their best selves and be their own advocate when it comes to their health and taking care of themselves, and that every aspect of their life is their health. So it's not just nutrition and physical activity. It's also relationships and community and spirituality and that internal as much as the external and all of those things, bringing it all together, your passions, your values, your experiences, every part of who you are, what you do, what makes you you, like all of that comes into play.
I really like that. I really do, because you're spot on. You're spot on. So when I first thought about Spark.N.Stride, I thought about to myself, what do I like to talk about, and what am I passionate about, right? And I wrote all these things down. I think I can be a jokester at times, and I think I have a good sensibility or emotional intelligence on knowing like when to turn things on or turn things off, right? So in any case, the wellness piece, the mental health, the resilience, and the personal development piece. What I was noticing is in every setting that I have been in over the course of the past few years, for the most part, even with my daughter's friends and their parents and my close friends and my colleagues, and what I would notice is that in all of the conversations, there was always some kind of connection to like wellness. There was some kind of connection to like mental health and resiliency and personal development. And I'm like, man, like that, maybe that's, I was focused on that, on pulling those, those topics or seeing that in the conversations. So I had someone tell me, so you're going to talk about wellness and mental health every day on your podcast? And I'm like, yes. However, the way you're saying it is somewhat simplistic. And let me kind of tell you a little bit more kind of like how I envision it. And they were blown away by like how I kind of like, broke it down and kind of like peeled the onion back on what the conversations were, right? What I would say is to, in line with the mental health and the wellness piece, everything does go with each other, right? They're all linked and so forth. I think, and don't get me wrong, I don't ever want to make it appear as if like I am this wellness guru or this mental health guru, because I'm not. This is just something that I'm passionate about. And this is something that, in the military, I've been exposed to. And this is as a, my last position in the Air Force was a first sergeant. And what that means is that you're responsible for you're the person within the unit that's responsible for the health, morale, and welfare of all of the troops, right? So these are a lot of the messaging that we echo throughout the service, throughout the military, and it was just something that I feel connects to the civilian sector, and it's something that I've been exposed to for the last 24 years. So it only makes sense to me to like make that connection, right? But with that all being said, I never wanted to make it appear as if like this guru in any kind of way, because I'm not. I'm continuously learning. I was telling someone on the podcast, we were talking about how I'm really not. I shouldn't say I don't like school, because I do like school, but I'm more. I love to learn. Yeah. Right. So the schooling part, I love to learn. I'm a student of learning, if that makes any sense, right? So, but again, I'm not a guru. I don't hold a PhD in mental health and wellness, nor do I want to, right? I would like to speak to people who maybe have a PhD in, wellness and mental health or anything along those lines. But what I can share is my life experiences. Yeah. I can share that. I can share every single time my resiliency has been tested and I needed to like dig deep and find the tenacity in overcoming obstacles. I can talk about that. I could talk about that all day long, So the spirituality portion of it is so important as well. And like for me, Breanna, like I have like I'll share this with you. I have this thing where I can like I call it getting dialed in, right?
Yeah.
I can dial in.
Let's talk about it.
Right.
I love it.
I can dial in, right? To the point where, I mean, I'm weighing out my food. I'm going to sleep at a regimented time. I'm waking up. I'm in the gym, and when I love when I'm quote unquote dialed in, because everything just, it's almost like you're in one of those movies like Limitless, when he's taking like the limitless pill, and he just sees it a little bit differently. Yeah. That's how I feel kind of like when I'm dialed in. Everything is firing on all cylinders, right? Mm-hmm. However, in my experience, I haven't been able to sustain that for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. I've been able to do it 6 to 8 months or so forth, something in that wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. Because what tends to happen is, and this is, I know is something that I need to work on about myself, is that I put everyone else first. Mm-hmm. So I will put everything else first, and then whatever time is left over, I kind of like try to piece it together to fall in line with what I need to do for myself. Mm-hmm. And I know that's not the right way to go about it. I think the flip side to that is dedicating the time needed to yourself, because ultimately you will be better, right? Mm-hmm. When I'm in a healthier mindset, and when I'm healthier spiritually, mm-hmm. when I'm healthier physically, I'm a better Mach. I'm a better husband. I'm a better father, a better friend, and ultimately I just feel better, right? Yeah. But so I go through this thing. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I have like two people, like
devil and angel on you.
Yeah. So I like to call her like Patricia and Ramon.
Is Ramon the bad guy?
Ramon,
I just knew it.
Ramon's the motivator.
Oh, Ramon's the motivator. Okay.
Patricia's she's docile. She's very chill. Okay. She wants to lay around and drink herbal tea and read books and stuff like that, right?
Okay. I like Patricia though.
So when the alarm goes off and it's time to kind of like go off to the gym or something like that, Patricia's like, "No, baby, stay, cuddle with me, Ramon's like, "Bro, you gotta get to the gym, bro. Like, stop. Like, it's go time." Yeah. So like I struggle between the both of them, but like for like the past few months, I've been hanging out with Patricia a little bit longer. Yeah. But lately, the last few weeks has been like Ramon. So me and Ramon have been, Ramon's like on it, like, "Come on, brother, you gotta get rid of that beer belly. It's summertime. Yeah. You need to bring your blood pressure down, that kind of thing." But yeah, so Ramon and Patricia, they live in my head. They're cool though.
Yeah, I'm like, they don't seem horrible. Patricia's not the worst vibe. She's drinking herbal tea.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a low vibe.
Yeah. She's into like tofu and sushi and that kind of thing. She's very petite. Okay. You know what I mean? She doesn't really need to work out. Her metabolism is something different. Yeah.
Ramon is the big guy.
No, Ramon's like all about, he's the, Ramon is sitting here. He's already sweating. You know what I mean? He's already, he's like, come on, brother.
He's a serious one.
Let's get going.
He's the real deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough, especially, when you're managing multiple responsibilities and all those things. And I definitely feel that too. And, I can say, as coming up, not only as the only daughter in the household, I wouldn't say first daughter. Usually we will say like first daughter immigrant child is the true like one that takes care of the household. But I'm not. I have older brothers and then younger brothers, so I'm in the middle. But you would think I was the oldest. Right. My brothers, but you would think I was the oldest. Because I was always the one that, ever since I was younger, I was always the one that everyone would come to if they needed anything. And I was the one that was taking care of everybody mostly, and just making sure everyone's good. Like, yes, my parents, like, they worked and provided, of course. I wasn't the one doing that, but I was the one kind of there as the one that held everything together. Mm-hmm. And I think from a younger age, that kind of started off the whole idea of of like, I always had to be good because if I'm not good, then nobody else is good. So I kind of had to hold it down. So I had to recognize that later on as I got older and turn that off, because it kind of, as I got older, it forced me to put my emotions and stuff to the side. And I was able to have this wall up and keep it up, which is
Yeah.
not good. I never was really able to kind of like tap into my emotions, because then if I did, then like, what is everybody else going to do? If everybody else is having issues and things like that, I'm the one that's supposed to be strong for everyone. So if I'm not together, then everything crumbles down. But yeah, I definitely had to recognize that later on, that, you know, the strong one can't always be the strong one forever. And I have to be able to tap into my emotions and stuff and bring it back and tend to me, and recognize when I'm not giving back to myself. I have to be able to do that to, like you said, right? We have to give back to ourselves and prioritize ourselves too, in order to continue to be a better us, sister, brother, wife, all of those things. So when my clients will come to me and, they'll bring up things about being a parent, or this or that as reasons to not do some of these things, I was reminding them, right, that that should be the main motivator, one of the main reasons that we do all of those things.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure. So you're online coaching, or you're physically coaching people in person? Or
I'm
little
online. I'm online coaching, so I do a lot of things. Currently, I feel like I'm always doing different things. I have a lot of experiences from all different areas. I used to do research. I used to do community programming. I did clinical trial research and health behavior research, cancer research, things like that. I worked as like a weight loss and wellness consultant in different areas. But right now I'm mainly doing corporate wellness, where I'm doing like programming consulting for big corporations, and working with their employees. And I kind of liked going into that field because as standard Americans, right, where do you spend the majority of your time? It's at work or whatever you do. So my big thing was always, how can I reach people? And I wanted to start a business because I like working under somebody. I can reach X amount of people that they are providing, right? But if I'm on my own, I can reach as many. I didn't want to be limited to what I can do, and I never wanted to be like that. Like like I said before, right? If I want to do something, I want to be able to do it.
Right.
So I started my business to be able to reach more people, and then digging deeper into that, I was like, okay, how can I, reach people the most? So it's okay. A lot of people, majority of Americans spend their time at work. So I can reach them at work. So now I'm reaching out to these corporations and doing the wellness consulting and programming, all of those things through them too. Cost and all of that is another thing. So if companies are providing these different benefits and resources to their employees, they don't really have to worry about cost, because they can go through like insurance, or just go through it as an employee benefit. So thinking of that as well, because that is another barrier to healthcare, right? People are always like, well, I don't have the money to pay for these things. So if your work is providing it, then you can just have it as a benefit. You don't have to worry about costs.
Right.
So I'm doing that, the corporate wellness side. And then I also do online coaching. I do health coaching, nutrition coaching, fitness as well. I'm a personal trainer also. So I'll do virtual training, in-person training as well. I do a lot of different like speaking engagements, whether it's at conferences, different panels, things like that. I am looking to do more activities now within the communities, whether it be like philanthropy events, or collabing with others in the field of either health and wellness. But I've also collabed with, I have something coming up with a conference, and it's insurance companies, right? But they would like a sector to speak to wellness, because that's just a big thing for everybody. You
Right.
can't escape it,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
that's a one benefit, I guess, for me being, me trying to reach people in that area. That's something that they can't really escape.
Back to what you're saying about like escaping, right? Like to your point, right? You can't escape it. And I think the reason why you can't escape it is because it's so vital to you as a person, like your wellness, right?
Yeah.
And it encompasses all these different areas. So that's why you can't escape it. It's not something that you could like shut off. You can shut it off for like a certain amount of time, but it's just you're choosing to ignore it. It's not going away. Right? Your wellness is not going away.
Yeah.
You're just choosing not to maybe focus on it, or maybe you're just too busy, or I've fallen victim to that, and on many different occasions, like when me and my buddies are catching up, it's like, hey man, are you on or off? Oh man, I fell off, dude. I fell off. like man, I fell off like after, the holidays, and oh man, you got to get back on track, right?
Yeah.
You got to get dialed in.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we're, no one is immune from that, right? So I think it's really interesting how like these corporations and stuff like that are like providing opportunity or somewhat like taking it serious. I think, and again, I'm not a professional, I don't hold a degree in any of this. I'm just like thinking like logically.
Yeah.
And I think that just like anything else, like if you have a healthy team, your production goes up, the morale goes up, all these things go up, right?
Yeah.
Like the scalability, increases.
100%.
So, no,
You
for
have
sure.
it right on the money. That's the ROI for them, right? That return of interest for them is they have healthy employees, productivity goes up, people aren't taking off of work. The work is getting done. Their business is running smoother, increases morale, right? Now it becomes one of the top places to work. Now people want to work for this company because they have that culture and they do value wellness and all of those things. So yeah, for the company, that's one thing for them that's a plus. But for me, it's like I want people to be healthy, and that's one way to. Yeah.
So one of my buddies, I'm not gonna I'm gonna keep some names and stuff out because I'm not exactly sure how this works. But what he was explaining to me is that so his wife works for a nonprofit, and I really don't want to get this wrong, but I believe culturally in the company, like it's culturally accepted. Number one, to bring your dog to work. Number two, to bring your kid to work.
Wow.
So like there's a community of folks that are kind of like homeschooling their kids kind of
while working.
While work. So like you would go to the company, the kids are kind of like growing up together. Their folks are like taking turns teaching them a subject, and then they're surrounded by like the animals and I mean, I'm like, man, that sounds pretty cool,
Yeah.
But and I'm sure and this is not a brand new thing. Apparently this has been going on for like quite some time. I want to say it's well over like a few years. But like I wonder, I would like to be, just part of that for a little bit to see or experience. Like imagine you had that, where you could kind of like bring your kid in with you. Your kid is, you're working and your kid's over here learning something, and you got your dog by your side, and I could only imagine that the morale is super up.
Yeah.
Like I can't see it being like down.
Yeah. I would definitely love to be in that space and see how that would go. I feel like, I would definitely love to know how that would work. It can go both ways too, right? Because I feel like sometimes people go to work to, I don't want to say escape your kids, but
right.
to
Oh
get
yeah,
them.
for sure. Listen.
It's I'm always telling my clients are like, oh, I feel bad saying this. I'm like, no, it's okay. Everybody needs a second.
Right.
Even especially as a parent, you need to.
No, you definitely need to be able to disconnect from your kids for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know what you end up finding yourself doing? You could say all these things like, oh, I want to disconnect, or, all these different things. And then when you're disconnected, you're like, oh, but I missed them.
Yeah, and you're thinking about them the entire time.
Oh, but you're texting. Are they okay? Yes. Are they this? Are they that? So, I mean, you know, emotionally you go through all these things, and you know your mind tells you that you want to disconnect from them, but there's something just like biologically, you know, you're connected biologically, chemically.
Yeah.
So for even like me and my wife, you know, going out to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, we haven't even left the house for like less than an hour. We maybe just have been seated. We just got menus, and she's already texting, or she's telling me to text, you know, the babysitter.
Yeah.
Oh, we just sat down. Like,
Yeah.
if something went wrong, they would call us, you know? I was, my buddy's grandfather was talking to us. He's a veteran. He wasn't in World War II. I think he was in the Korean War.
Mm-hmm.
And I love talking to older people.
Same here, yeah.
Because the filter's like off.
Yeah.
And they're not concerned with anything, right?
They do not care.
They get the G pass, right? They could say whatever they want. I cannot wait to get there.
I always say that. I'm like, I can't wait to get to that age where I can just say whatever I want and not care, and it just doesn't matter. They say whatever and do whatever they want, and they do get the pass. It's like, oh, they're old.
They're old. They're retired. They have a pension. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, what are you gonna, you know? But anyway, so, but always listening to like older folks, and I just enjoy like hearing like their stories and their kind of thing like that. So going back to like the kids and being disconnected from the kids and stuff like that. So my buddy's grandfather was telling us, he's like, because he just got like a smartphone, you know what I mean? And clearly like he's not really into the smartphone. Like I guess he may have just figured out like how to open it and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes into telling us about how he goes off on a tangent and is basically saying like, you know, why does everybody need to know everything that's going on at any point of the day? You know what I mean? He's like, it's not necessary, right? It's you know, I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically what he's saying, right? And he's like, he's like, in my day, you know what would happen if one of my kids got hit by a car or was killed? He's like, I'd find out about it when I got home, like.
Yeah.
Or if it was that important, they would just call the office at the job.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know what I mean? He's like, if it was that important, or you just find out when you get home.
Yeah.
You get home and you be like, hey, what happened? Oh, so-and-so got hit by a car or like, so, you know, like that's when you would find out the news of the day. You know, he's like, why do you kids need to know it right this minute? You know? I'm like, oh shit, I don't know, man.
Yeah, that is privilege that we do have now.
Yeah, for
honestly,
sure.
Versus back then, because I remember those days too, right? If I wanted to speak to somebody, I call them at work.
Yeah, yeah, at work, and yeah, like you had a beeper.
Yeah, back then.
Did you have a beeper for real?
Yeah, beeper or just that's how you would contact people.
I remember
when they got home, house phone.
No, for sure, the house phone. But I remember having a beeper. I remember the first one that I got too. Like you couldn't tell me anything. I thought I was the man. I thought I was like skating on clouds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like, you can't tell me I got a beeper.
Yeah.
Shit. Like, and then we used to beep each other and like put in like different codes, and you could put the beeper upside down.
Yeah.
And like read the code.
Oh, I
like,
wasn't like, yeah.
Yeah.
That was not cool. We didn't do all that.
Well, one of the ones was like you could type out the number where you wanted them to call you back, but prior to that you would send them like, I want to say it was like 83805, and then you turn it upside down and it looks like a BEBOS, and in Spanish like it's called besos, so it's like kisses.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I don't even know why I remember that.
That's awesome.
Stupid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when we used to make little codes on our calculator in school.
Yeah, like you could write shoes.
Yeah.
Put shoes on you. Like, who would you show that to though?
Yeah. That weird stuff. The things that we enjoyed back then. I'm like, oh my gosh. The simple things.
I remember when we got like the long wire for our house phone. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
That was a huge deal. You got like the 50-foot cord for your house phone. That means you could go all over the house.
I was just
You're
gonna
like,
say.
you know, because And I remember when we first got a house phone. I still remember the phone number too.
I remember my house phone number.
Yeah. I was talking to some of my buddies that like I've been close to for like a long time. I'm like, hey man, like, I went into the military, you went off to college, you started companies, but somehow we were always able to stay together. And we were trying to figure out how did we do that. And we were like, the reason why is because your mom never changed her phone number. Like your mom, your house phone has been the same number for over 30 years. So before all the cell phones and all this kind of stuff, I would call your house and somebody there would pick up the phone and I would leave you a message with that person.
Yeah.
And you would, and you would have to rely on that person to have to call wherever you were located at and just say, hey, like Mach called for you.
Yeah.
He left this number. Call him back.
Yeah.
It wasn't so instant, or like, even like meeting up with your friends or going out like on a date. It was kind of like, hey, like I'll meet you at 7:00 at this particular place, and you just waited there.
Yeah.
So
Until that time.
if something happened on the way there,
you'll find out. You'll find out at 8:00 when they don't show up. Yeah. Easy access to things now and quick, fast. I know a lot of people nowadays too. There's always two sides to everything, right? Two extremes. So there's that side of people that are like, social media is the devil, technology is the devil, everyone wants everything quick and fast and blah, blah, blah. But it's also a blessing too. We're able to do things like this. We're able to build and grow a brand. Yeah. Could you imagine if we didn't have, I don't know what they would have done, radios back in the day?
Breanna, I'm so glad you're saying this because at dinner yesterday with my wife, we were talking about the exact same thing. Yeah. And she's like, wow, like basically what my wife was saying was like in the 80s and 90s, or even further, before we had this level of technology, you could not do, in terms of like building your own brand. Could you imagine how hard that is?
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't be on TV. Yeah. How would you and I get on TV? Yeah. How would we get our faces out there, our voices out there? Yeah. How? You would have to be on TV or the radio. TV to be visually seen, right? Like that was, or maybe a magazine. Like maybe if you were in a magazine or a newspaper or something like that. I don't know. I find that, and I think also where we're at right now with like technology, podcasting, and what we're doing, I don't even think we've scratched the surface on like what it's going to really turn itself into, because I really honestly think that we're in the very beginning stages of the infant stages of what's going to come. Yeah. I don't know what the next piece of technology is going to be or anything. I mean, now with Apple has like the VR thing that's coming out, I think like next year. Did you see how much that costs? Yeah. It's a grip. Yeah. It's like $3,400 or so. I'm kind of like, I want to use it. I would just want to see what it would do or what it does, because I'm just interested in that kind of thing. But I don't know that I would be running out. I won't camp out online. Have you ever camped out online for anything?
I have. I think once back in the day for sneakers when I was very young.
Really? I've never done that.
Yeah. It wasn't camp out. Let me not say camp out. It was just wait in a long line for a couple hours. I've never, like, I know people have literally overnighted, right? Yeah. For technology or shoes or whatever it may be. But yeah, no, never. I was never like that either. I was always, what's that spectrum? So it's like the early adapters over here, and then the others. Who's on this other end?
Oh, I forget.
Not
and then
the boomers, but
you're ultimately it's you're gonna equate buy-in, right? Yeah. Yeah. I forget what the conformers.
I think so. So I'm and I'm on the end of like, I'll wait till everybody else gets it, see how it works for them. I'm not jumping on it, all those things. So I wasn't.
Yeah.
One of the people waiting in the lines.
So I have a buddy of mine. His name is Josh, and he's such a great storyteller. Like I have these group of friends that they're great storytellers.
Yeah.
And not that he's telling a story. This is just like how he's very descriptive.
Yeah.
And he was telling me a story about the PlayStation 5.
Okay, the latest one.
Yeah, and I swear to you, like we could probably write like a movie. We could definitely do like a short
description.
Yes,
I need to talk to him now.
Because I'll definitely have you'll meet him. He's such a great guy, and he had me so locked in on the story. And I was just like, what?
Wow.
And he's explaining like the whole thing. He's like, yeah, I'm texting this one, that one, and we have to go to this store, and I go to the store, and da da da. He's explaining to like, and then I go here, and I had to go over the George Washington Bridge, and they had them, and I parked, and I stayed overnight, and it was cold, and I was heating myself in my car with my headlights on my chair. The whole thing was incredible. But no, I've never done like Black Friday, like rushing into stores or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done that.
Yeah.
I think a big part of that is because I'm like lazy to a certain extent. Like I don't want to.
It's not that serious.
I don't want to get up early to like. What am I saving?
Yeah.
Like, what am I really saving? Is it like a few $100s? Like I'd rather just lay in bed.
Yeah.
With Patricia, like.
With the herbal tea.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'd rather just me and Patricia just getting our Z's in and cuddling. I don't have any intent on like rushing out on Black Friday to buy a flat screen. That's
right.
That's gonna be, I don't know.
It's never that serious, especially nowadays too. I think this past Black Friday, they were like, I saw a sale and I think it said like 5% off. I was like, what even is that? Like, keep your $2 or whatever that is.
Yeah, like you're spending more on gas money and anything else,
and inconvenience, to get that.
Are you into like any shows or like any particular kind of like movies or anything like that?
You know what's so funny? I am the absolute worst with shows, and I always think back. I'm like, what was I doing? I'm like, what was I doing that I wasn't watching all these shows that everybody just like loved and would always talk about? One thing that I used to always do with my mom back then was go to movies. So I always like had a love for movies. But as far as shows, I'm like, I can't even think of what I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
What are some of yours?
I'll tell you what. I've been on this whole thing lately on like Westerns.
Okay.
Like I don't know why. Like I just been into like me and my wife, we like Yellowstone. We like that series. Super good.
Yeah.
But then so when I was young, I grew up with my grandmother. Yeah. And my grandmother was all into like John Wayne, like these, and I would hang out with her. Yeah. Drink café con leche, and she had a rocking chair. We didn't have much. She had a rocking chair. I would sit on the bed or on the floor next to her, and we would just on a little like 13-inch TV, black and white. We would watch these Westerns, So like
I love that.
So I've been, and like obviously now it's different. Like we got these big screens that they look just incredible and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching like a lot of Westerns and reading up a lot on like what that era was like. Mm-hmm. So I'm not trying. I'm on my way to being dialed in.
Okay.
I'm 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do is like I'll listen to like a podcast or I'll listen to like a book, while I'm on the treadmill or anything like that, or like in the sauna or steam room. Yeah. And so a lot of the books that I'm reading or so forth is stories on like manifest destiny, like how the West came to be, mm-hmm. The Indian culture and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So then at night, if I have a little bit of downtime, I'll kind of like, I'll grab some like old kind of like Western movie or something like that. And I'm just really, it just really intrigues me to, because like I'm reading the book or I'm reading different kind of books or listening. So I'm watching like maybe I'm watching like a clip of a movie, but I'm going a little bit further because I'm having a little bit more knowledge about that era and what was going on around that time.
Yeah.
Right. How people were like making their way out west to, I mean, you want to talk about resiliency. The folks that made their way out west for land and a better opportunity,
resources. Yeah.
having to navigate, Indians and outlaws and wolves and bears and just all this craziness. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Like I'm really into that.
Yeah.
I'm really into that.
It's amazing. And that's awesome that though, because of what you read, you can look at the movies and things like that in a different perspective. I'm definitely that type where I'll be watching a show or be watching a movie and want to learn. I'll do it the opposite way around. Or you did it this way, actually, I think. So be watching a show, a movie, and you're like, oh, I want to learn more about, even though it's fictional, you're like, oh, I want to learn more about the nonfiction side.
Nonfiction side, yeah.
Yeah, to what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm really big on history. That was like my best subject in school. I don't know. It's just amazing to me, like all these things that happened in the past, like, like they've been documented and they're, this happened, like the attack on Pearl Harbor, that happened, like the invasion of Normandy, that happened, So what's really cool about it too is my daughter's into it.
Really?
Yeah, my daughter's into history. Like,
that's
so
awesome.
she's like, after we do her stuff and she's done for the night, she asked if she could watch like 10 minutes of history or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll watch something and it always takes a little bit. She knows that it takes a little bit longer. So I think it's a way of manipulating me because she'll ask, hey, why did that happen?
Yeah.
Or what are they asking there? What are they saying there? So, she understands the difference. Like she knows what the Revolutionary War was about. She knows what the Civil War was about. World War I, those are the four that we're kind of like focused on. She understands the Great Depression. She understands the implementation of Social Security after the Great Depression and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And how old is she now?
She's gonna be 6 next week. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You'll meet her. You'll meet her in a little bit. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, she is a smart cookie. But that's how I knew I started getting into health. Well, two things. Started getting into health. One was because I would ask a lot of questions about different things when I was younger. So I would open the medicine cabinet and look at like NyQuil I don't know if they had NyQuil back then, but like Motrin and all these different things. And I would sit there and read all of the different labels and what they like try to figure out all the different like chemicals and everything that was in it when I was super young. And because I asked a lot of questions, my family used to always say, oh, you should be a lawyer. So for a little while, when I was younger, I would say like, oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. Oh, I'm going to be a lawyer. But that's not what that's not what I wanted. That's not what it was. That's not what I wanted to. They equated the questions to, oh, she's going to be a lawyer. And because of my personality, like I would always stand my ground since I was younger too. But no, it wasn't. Yeah, it was always the health that and then as I got a little bit older, I was still way younger. I got a little bit older and then I started learning about the human body and being like fascinated by, just every little thing. And going from there. And then on top of that, being into athletics and all of that. So that helped me get more into fitness. But I was also passionate about educating others and, passing off information to others and things like that. And so my two younger brothers are twins. And,
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so they're twins. And when they went into summer break, I would do preschool. So I would be a fake teacher and I would make all these little like documents. There were websites that you can make crossword puzzles and worksheets and things like that. So for fun, out of my own, just because my parents loved it, right? Because they were like, oh, they're doing more school, even though they're out of school and she's teaching them things. But I would print those out and do all this little schooling and things like that with them. And then again, too, as I started to get a little bit older, but I was still younger. I love like science and the human body and biology and all of those things. And I would always bring all these little like facts to my friends. And I started doing like tutoring and things like that then too. So that's why I always ask people when people are trying to tap into their purpose, and I'm always like, think back to those things that you did just because, or that you liked just because when we were younger, there are these things that we did or enjoyed without all of the other factors that come later on that kind of block them as you get older, that kind of stop you and make you hold those things inside, because we have all these different roles and responsibilities, or people telling you, yes, you can do this, no, you can't do that when you're young, right? So then it starts to break those things down and bring them back. So it's always interesting to hear.
I think also when you're young too, and you're trying to like, I don't even know that when you're young, you're trying to find purpose. You're just so young and innocent.
Yeah.
You're just going through life, right?
Yeah.
Or you're going through what you're being exposed to, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times too, when you're like in order to be something, you have to kind of like see it first.
Yeah.
Right. So like in my family, we have some of like the first college graduates.
Mm-hmm.
We have like our first attorney, we have our first doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And these are folks that had to do that, or they were able to make those accomplishments being the first, not having the blueprint,
Yeah.
But think about it now. Like now we have the blueprint. So my daughter, Generation Alpha, they're growing up with like all this technology and all this kind of stuff. Like they have the blueprint.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm really curious to see, what my daughter and her generation, like what it is that they do.
Yeah.
What do they accomplish?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. And what comes of that in that generation. When you were talking about your daughter too, and how she's interested in the Westerns and the history, it's also always interesting, like you said, some of your interests and things like that come from what you're surrounded with, or even you saying you watched it with your grandmother, and that's how that came about too. So how many things that make us who we are because of that environment and nurturing, and then seeing what comes from nature, right? Just from who we are as a person and what we're just naturally born with. But yeah,
with the with what comes natural, I one of the things that I did about a year ago or so when I had this idea for Spark.N.Stride is that I wrote down, because I knew that my time in the military was coming to an end, and that I would have to figure out what my next step was going to be. And I've always been one to I've never waited around for like a handout or anything like that. Like I've always put my own action behind things and put things in motion, and continue, like to stride forward, right? So I was doing all this like thinking and so forth. I'm doing a lot of writing, and I wrote down all of the things that I love to do, that I do without, that it doesn't come hard for me to do. And then I wrote down all the stuff that I don't like to do. And then I wrote down the stuff that I don't like to do, but I can muscle through to get back to the things that I like to do. And that's kind of like how I came up with kind of like Spark.N.Stride and what I wanted to do. And I was like, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy learning from people. And I feel that everything we do is relationship based, right? So although we're living in a time where you can get a lot done in your living room, behind a computer, behind a keyboard, but ultimately I think that the relationship building portion of it is vital, right? Because it's keen to our genetic like makeup as humans, right? We need to be able to interact with other humans. You know, it's just the way we're built. You know, which is interesting when you think about all this kind of new technology that's coming out, this AI stuff. I mean, like pretty soon people are gonna have like robotic boyfriend and girlfriends.
Yes.
Like,
Which is scary. That freaks me out. I told you I'm old fashioned.
you know,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah. So I forgot I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent.
It's okay. But yeah, just the progression of everything and the direction that everything is going in, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for sure.
How far away are we, do you think, from like being chipped? And what I mean by that, do you kind of like, go ahead. Well, what does that mean to you? Being chipped. How do you interpret that?
Just getting to the, well, yeah, that could be interpreted in different ways.
So I'm just curious to see how you interpret, because I cut you off before.
So that can mean just the progression of technology to the point of us becoming futuristic.
Yeah.
It can also mean control and like everything being technology advancing to the point where everything is technology and can be monitored and down to us, and just like
when I said like, how far away do you think we're from being chipped? What I meant by that was chipped to the point where like we're inserted with something, right? Like whatever it is, a chip, right? And that everything we do, it's down to the point where like you can walk into a store, pick whatever you want to pick, and walk out, because your credit card, your social security card, your social credit score, whatever, it's you're wearing it. It's on you. It's in you.
Yeah.
You know, you can just kind of like maneuver around, you know, everything. The you exercise is being recorded, is being calculated. Your sleep, like everything that we have all these like kind of like little gadgets for. I think that ultimately in the near future it would just be a chip.
That's definitely the direction that they want to go, right? Where we are robots in a sense.
Scary.
That's super scary. I'm Patricia, okay? I just want to drink herbal tea in the woods and chill.
Yeah.
I don't want any chips in me. I just want to vibe.
What if they make it where like when you're born, it's like almost like getting a social security card, you have to be
instead
chipped.
Of that? Yeah. A social security card in a sense can act as like a chip, right? But like, yeah. It's coming and me be there. Hopefully I do not see those days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll pass on that.
There's a show on Netflix. It's called Black Mirror.
Yes.
Oh, you're familiar with Black Mirror?
I'm familiar. Yeah. And it's
scary.
It's scary, but a lot of the things that it's foreseeing the future according to what's going on now.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like the old show from the 50s, like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like a futuristic like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you look back at Twilight Zone, that's kind of like, you know.
What's interesting about the Twilight Zone is that there is so my mom used to love the Twilight Zone, and I would watch that with her. That was so thought-provoking too, right? The whole thing with like the aliens and the this and the just the wild stuff. Like I love the Twilight Zone too. But no, Black Mirror is super good.
I know the new season just came out yesterday.
Did it? I gotta I'm behind on a few. Like I like to like let them all load up and then I'll binge a bunch. But one of the episodes that really took me was the premise of it was that like there was almost like your eye, like you could see things with your eye. Like it was almost like a database where like you could rewind stuff.
Oh yes.
And did you see that one?
Yes.
Where they're at the dinner party.
Yeah.
And then they get home and him and his wife like get into an argument because he's basically telling her like, why was she flirting with the guy? She's like, I wasn't flirting with anybody. And then like he rewinds it back and plays it.
See Yeah, you can see the past and play it. And it goes down to, I think it went back to memories too, right? Because so you can play, because I remember there was one scene where he was playing.
Come closer to the mic. Yeah.
There was one scene where he was playing a memory of him with a different relationship or something like that. And it was a whole.
Yeah.
It's just,
Snap.
yeah, that's just a no.
Wow. Yeah, no, that you're like, yeah, no, I don't have any interest in that. So
Yeah.
Did you work out today?
I did not work out yet.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
I'm not trying to make you feel guilty or anything. I was just wondering.
Yeah, dang,
Yeah.
don't tell anybody. No, it's okay. We days off are normal. I tell everybody, like, a lot of people think that I'm like, I work out 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, like nonstop. People ask me a lot. They're like, oh, when do you take a rest day? But it's balance is the key. And that's what health and wellness is, right? Health and wellness isn't anything in excess. So I always say anything in excess is not what we're aiming for. So you don't want even good. You can have an excess of things that are good. So we want to stay balanced. We don't want too little. We don't want too much. Blood pressure. If it's too low, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If it's too high, that's also, we want it balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Cholesterol. If it's too high, that's a problem. If it's too low, that's also a problem, right? Because we need that too. So everything in balance, and whatever balance looks like to you, we're all different. That's another big thing about my brand. And, just the customization and knowing that you're an individual, and everyone, we are all uniquely, individually ourselves. So don't try to do, what everybody else is doing, and what, honestly, we grow as individuals too, right? So the aim may not even to be to do what we were doing 10 years ago. It's looking at where you are now and what balance and optimal health and wellness looks like to you. I have one client, and she is a new mom and all of those things. And she was like, oh, well, back then I used to work out 7 days a week, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're in a new stage now. You're in a new stage of life. You're now a mom. 7 days a week, that's not balanced for you anymore. That's excess, right? So, and that doesn't mean healthy if it's now becoming a burden and you're straining yourself or losing time with your family or all these things. So just doing whatever balance looks like to you at the time. Today's a rest day for me, I think, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. She's like, we'll see how I feel about the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It's raining here today. I think today's like a good day to.
Yeah.
Today's my rest day. Today's my rest day.
Yeah.
My daughter loves Vietnamese soup.
Oh,
pho.
Yeah.
So
today's a pho day.
Yeah. So I think we'll get some pho and hang out or whatever, and then it's definitely like one of those like rainy, but it's hot out.
Yeah.
It's super warm, but it's raining. But
yeah.
Breanna, do you do anything with like children, like working with like younger, maybe like, I don't know, middle school age kids or so that are like maybe struggling with like trying to find that balance?
Yeah. So I have done stuff in the past. I have had, previous teachers and things like that I've had bring me in to either speak to their athletic teams or come in and speak to students or a class, things like that, schools. I have done community work too with children, because that's a good time, right? To, their brains are still permeable at that time, right?
Yep.
It's a good, even though, like you said, right, we should be a forever student, have that growth mindset. But that is a good time for them to start thinking about these things, not force them to do anything, right? But guide them and lead and support them to.
Yeah, I think that's like really, really good.
Yeah.
I think it's cool too, because like at that age, like I think also what you're also kind of like teaching them is just like, to your point, like the balance part of it. But like I equate that with like habit.
Yes.
Right. So you're teaching them like the balance, but also like how to implement the habit of just being balanced.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We definitely have to work more together. Like any kind of like event you have going on, please let me know. I'll be there to support you. Please use this platform as this continues to grow to talk about anything that you're passionate about, anything that you're trying to put in motion. And again, anything that I could do to help, right? Anything that I could do to help, I would love to assist you in any way possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you share like your website, share your handle and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely. So my website is BreannaJaneeWellness.com. I will put a lot of my online programming on there. If anybody wants to reach out to me, there's a space there for contact information. I don't have it up right now, but I'll usually have my Calendly and my schedule information up there, so people can book calls with me, like a free 30-minute call for different things. My Instagram is Breanna Janee Wellness also. So I put out a lot of my fitness content on there. And then yeah, if anybody wants to contact me for any corporate engagements, things like that, if you want me to come to speak to your corporation or you guys need a work break session or any type of wellness engagement, you can contact me on the website through the contact information. But yeah, opportunities are endless.
Oh man, thank you.
Thank you.
Breanna, listen, again, thank you for reaching out to me. Again, I've been following you for a while. I'm really glad we were able to put this together. This is not the last time that we see or speak with each other, but in the meantime, stay sparked.
Heavy duty. It's Mach.